Hi, and welcome to our next video on junior algebra. This wraps up a little series on factorising quadratics. So we've been talking about quadratics in factored form and expanded form, and going back from expanded back to factored. Right, now the key thing when we factorise, I hope you're starting to pick up by now, is the two numbers that we pick inside the brackets must add to give the middle number the coefficient of x, and they must multiply to give us that last number, the constant. All right, let's get into three little tricky examples and see if you can understand a few more tricks to this. We're going to factorise x squared plus 4x. Now, that probably looks a little bit different to what you're used to. Normally, a quadratic you've seen has an x squared, has some number with an x, and it has some constant by itself. In this example, there is no constant, no number at the end. Well, there is. We just didn't put it there, it's 0. So this one is x squared plus 4x plus 0. So once you've figured that out, then you can carry on and say, right, we're going to put it inside two brackets, and the two numbers we pick must multiply to get 0 and must add to give 4. Now what two numbers multiply to 0 and add to 4? It must be 4 and 0. 4 times 0 gives 0, and 4 plus 0 gives 4. So it must be one of the numbers must be a 0. Now, once you've got that figured out, have a look at the first bracket, x plus 0. We don't need to write x plus 0, so we're just going to write x. We don't need the plus 0. So the first bracket's just going to be x, and the second bracket's going to be x plus 4. We don't actually need a bracket around x when it's just x by itself. So when you go to check your answers, you're probably going to see it in this form, x bracket x plus 4. All right, let's move on to example 2. Let's factorise this expression, x squared minus 16. Well, once again, think about the quadratics we've been dealing with so far. We have an x squared, we have some number in the middle with an x, and we have some constant at the end, some number by itself. Well, in this example, we have the x squared. We don't have a number in the middle with an x. We do have a number at the end, it's minus 16. So you're thinking, what's going on here? Well, again, like the last one, it's not there because it's 0. So we're going to rewrite this as x squared plus 0x minus 16. And once you've done that, you'll say, oh my gosh, now what's going on? We're going to put it into two brackets. We need to multiply to get negative 16. Here's all the factors that multiply to get negative 16, by the way. One must be positive and one must be negative, because a negative times a positive makes a negative. And they must add up to get 0. They must add up to get 0. So as we scan down this list on the right here, all the numbers, what of them add to 0? Well, it must be one of these pair. It doesn't matter which one actually, because they're both going to be the same. 4 and negative 4, because 4 plus negative 4 or negative 4 plus 4 makes 0. They cancel to 0. And 4 times negative 4 makes negative 16. So basically one has to be a negative 4 and one has to be a positive 4. So when we pop them into the brackets, we're going to have a plus 4 and a minus 4, or remember you could have it the other way around, minus 4 and plus 4. All right, our last example is this one, example 3. Let's factorise this expression, 3x squared plus 21x plus 30. Now, what's unique about this is they all have numbers which can be divided by a common factor. They all can, in this example, they can all be divided by 3. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take 3 out. And we're going to factorise 3 out. We're going to be left with x squared, because 3 times x squared is 3x squared. We're going to be left with 7x, because 3 times 7 is 21. And we're going to be left with 10, because 3 times 10 is 30. Now we can take what's in the brackets, the x squared plus 7x plus 10, and we can factorize that into two brackets after this. So we end up, the 3 stays out the front, and we end up with x plus 5 and x plus 2. Again, it doesn't matter which, you can have x plus 5 and x plus 2, or x plus 2 and x plus 5. Awesome, thank you very much for watching.